Okay. Me too. All right, folks, we'll open the public portion of the meeting. What?
United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to accept the CSE and CPF report. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Hope. You guys are on it. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So keep those separate.
Oh, you're right. Then we have to be going through the football. Minutes. First, our regular meeting, April 25th. Any edits, questions, concerns? Otherwise, can I both minutes?
You need to be separate.
They have to be separate. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the 425?
So moved.
Thanks, Greg. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Abstain. Okay. And then the budget meeting. 2 nights ago. April. Budget hearing. Correct. Which it's always nice to hear that the administrators all did a really nice job with your what's on the books kind of accomplishments. So thank you guys for doing that. Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? So moved. Thanks, Hope. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Greg. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There are hateful people out there. Yeah. Just let her know.
I'll abstain.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we still had 4.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Next up, treasurer's reports. For April. Is there a motion to approve treasurer's reports? Thanks, Brent.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then we move to budget transfer. Is there a motion to approve budget transfers? Thanks, Kate. Is there a second? Thanks. Well, Brent, I heard her voice down there too. Second. All those in favor? Any opposed? On to the warrants. So we have general fund 25, April.
Chris, for the charter school payment, how many students does that represent?
So we have 4 students at, Marie's right now.
I did notice, so on page 5 of the general, there's a Robertson restaurant service, but then there's a separate Robertson restaurant in the lunch fund. So I didn't know, seemed funny that they came out of 2 buckets, but it could be two different. There you go.
I'd have to look at what contract that is. They're both contractual there, so. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
we'll look into it and send an email.
That works. And the only other question, going backwards, on 2 of 16, there's an item that's due for memorial funds. With a scholarship.
Yep, so when we pay our scholarships, we pay them from the general fund. And that appropriation account is a due got that out of the memorial account. Yeah.
Makes sense. On to the federal fund, and that's other people are thinking on that one. Federal funds 10, just a little guy, since we're going down all that federal money. School lunch fund 10. And then capital fund 10. That we got yesterday. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you pulled up? Are there any questions on the consent agenda? I had a question on the athletics rubric. Personalities are here, but, so I know there was the whole thing we had to deal with last year, and that this was gonna be revisited. And my understanding was that the goal was to sort of treat sports that could be an individual game, golf or a cross country, slightly different than a team that, softball requires 9 on the field. There's no, but I didn't see anything about that reflected in the
And
rubric.
there isn't. So I was at that meeting, I had the question asked of me and I didn't remember all the details. So I talked to Wayne and how I could confirm that what I was thinking I remembered was accurate. And it was. They did spend a lot of time at the steering committee reviewing the rubric. And what they came down to is that this rubric has served them well for a lot of years, and things started to get a little off track in recent years. But if they simply went back to the top of the rubric where in bold it says, this rubric is a tool utilized when considering athletic team mergers and is intended to guide the conversation and not, and this is where they were starting to use it like it was a litmus test and not the sole basis for determining, then they were okay. And they went back and talked about sports like golf and what does it mean to be viable and what does it mean to be able to run a team. And they did come to the conclusion that the rubric wasn't the issue, it's a good rubric. The interpretation had gotten skewed and they kind of revisited their norms and how they'll approach it and stayed, and the rubric remained unchanged.
Okay, and there's enough institutional knowledge around the interpretation.
I don't want to speak, well, I will speak for the whole committee instead of just myself. Yeah, the merger committee believed there was. And every time I was part of it, so we attempted to change the language, it muddied it more than cleared it up because then there was another what if and another what if on the other side. And so we ended up back with the same rubric with a clearer understanding on how it needs to be used and not to use it as a litmus test. And that our goals are clear. Our first goal is to provide opportunities for students to participate in sports and activities. And with that in mind, and so more participation means maybe 2 teams because kids get more play time, they get more attention. But if the team's not going to happen at all, that's when we consider merging. So there is an opportunity as opposed to no opportunity.
And that was a bilateral.
That was
fine.
that was all the way around.
Because I'll be very honest, I don't want us involved in those decisions.
That's all.
Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda, or were there any other questions?
Move to accept.
Thanks, Greg. Is there a second? Thanks, Nate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And now we're to report, so we don't have Mr. Amon here. So Mr. Rehart, report.
I just want to say thank you for approving two candidates, Megan Paxton and Amanda Weaver. They're very high quality candidates, and I just want to say it says a lot about Candor. Those are two candidates that had several job offers elsewhere. And I'm part of the committee that we put together, and just the welcoming atmosphere that we welcome them. We gave them, tours as part of the interview. And when I asked, what made Candor stand out, and one of them was, well, I was getting paid more elsewhere. However, the environment that I felt, the welcoming family environment that the committee shared, we asked them questions about their personal life, about their families. We really care about them. I look at this as a 30-year marriage. It really is. So, thank you guys for approving those appointments. They're going to be two high quality candidates. They are going to start actually tomorrow substituting because you approved their subbing as well to get their feet wet a little bit in their grade levels that they're going to be seeing next year. So that would be a good experience for them. So on to my report, the summer program piece. I visited the El Memorial Baptist Church with the Healthy Kids program, the program that does our before and after school program. We wanted to try to offer something for our families since we're not doing summer academy, so we're really doing our best. I think the hang up here is going to be the time frame as far as the licensure to the state through the Office of Family and Children's, because we all know that moves at a snail's pace. But we're trying our best to provide our families with something. When I spoke to the supervisor of the program, she said right now it's about a 50-50 shot. We went over and met with the pastor over there. He took it to his church leadership. I got to follow up with him to see where they were at with it, but he didn't seem like that. Guarantee that that's going to happen. We're just trying our best to provide something for families this summer because we recognize that is a need.
So what would you hope to provide over there?
So that would be up to the Healthy Kids program. It would be a combination of a recreation program. And I'm not sure academics would be the focus of that program, but it would be recreation and care for the kids. And we also have a lot of teachers that are looking for summer work that they expressed interest in participating in working for the program. So hopefully we can get that, going here soon.
And with the goal to be potentially in the future to move it on campus if you were able to get those approvals.
The goal would be to have summer school in the future, but if
There's no
not,
academic component to this.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a stopgap, and like I applaud you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
serves the purpose of that childcare piece. I would say that our kids are missing, our families are missing the summer without our summer academy. Even though that isn't the main goal of our summer academy, this provides something for the families.
A lot of teachers and or aides are looking, it helps keep consistency across the students.
Yep.
And everything. Just
Exactly.
Even if enrollment is very low, will they still offer that at the,
Can you say that again?
assuming everything is approved?
Mhm.
Would enrollment numbers matter? Or if they had 5 kids, would they still run it?
Yeah, it would. I would be certain that they'd have enough to run it. It'd be up to, if they could find the faculty, which I'm assuming they would be, because like I said, teachers have asked me about opportunities for work this summer. So I would say if we have the go ahead to go, we would run it. Be certain about that, having the numbers.
That'll be tough. By the time you get approval, you're probably only gonna have a few days to get the word out for the end of the
Yeah.
year, right?
We'd have to do a marketing blast for sure.
Do
But
they
I-
have a maximum of number that they can?
It depends on how many teachers they get. That space over there, the space over there serves a lot of kids. They have the gym. Pastor said we could use a sanctuary. They have a gathering area for food, a kitchen. They have a lot of space. So yeah, it's a good space for this program.
That's great.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
Pete, I would just offer, as somebody who deals with OCFS for programming on almost a daily basis, if you have faculty members that are very interested and very likely, I would encourage you to start moving them through the fingerprinting process now.
We
Since they
know,
won't take the state ed credentials.
you know, exactly, it's a different kind of process, which is unfortunate, but because that's what kind of holds the process up sometimes.
Sometimes those checks take months to return results.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you for that. We initiated a student recognition program here within the last couple of weeks. We started it last month, actually, with our first winner that you can see there. He was really excited about getting his picture up and put it in the hallway too. Teachers and made a big deal about it, put it on the announcements in the morning. He got a t-shirt and just some high quality recognition for a deserving student. You can read his description there and how he and why he got it, which was really cute to read it. And it just goes to show you what kind of mind a second grader has. Empathetic, thoughtful student for sure. The end of the year piece down there, Brent and I met yesterday, and we decided to edit this a little bit. The last day for for students is going to be the 24th, that Monday. That'll be a full day for students. The second 2 days, that Tuesday and Wednesday, we do not have students, but the teachers are going to report to work those 2 days. I shared that with the teachers and the families on Remind yesterday, so everybody should have that information. I'll continue to share that because it did change. I don't want, any issues with the last day of school, having kids come and we don't have school. We've had that before, so I want to avoid that.
It's still gonna be field day on that final day?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. We have a lot of cool things happening on field day. We couldn't do it without the PTSA. I think we got 6 bounce houses, 7 bounce, something like that. And snow cone machines and things like that, slip and slides. So thank you to Jessica for everything they provided for that day.
And thank you, Chris, for the insurance policy review.
Yes, exactly. It's PE based curriculum, so our insurance does cover it. Yeah, we did it last year and we actually have some 6th graders who decide not to come on field day sometimes. But I was talking to a kid earlier and he goes, "Are you going to have those slip and slides? Because I missed last year." And I said, "Well, I won't tell you. You'll have to see for yourself." So we've actually added 3 slip and slides this year. We had 1 last year, but we're going to do 3 this year.
Oh my gosh.
Are you gonna need volunteers or like help?
Excellent. Thank you.
Pete,
Yes.
do you have times for those on the 21st?
Yeah, so pre-K graduation is going to be in the afternoon. I don't have a time for that, but 9:30 is the 6th grade graduation in the high school auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you. We're up to Mr. Gelder.
Well, first, apologies to anybody that's watching. I decided to be slick and use a different computer, and it keeps going to sleep on me, and I don't really want to spend time trying to figure it out right now, so I just have to keep waking it up. And unfortunately, your little reports from the guests did not make it onto, and I didn't want to interrupt the flow, so if you want everybody to know, the 8 people that are watching, you might have to repeat it. New York State testing is just about done. I have 2 students that I have makeups to do tomorrow. Hopefully they will be here. They've been ill, so hopefully they'll be feeling better to finish up our official state testing. The science test was a longer test as was predicted. Students did stick with it, and we had a couple of students spend almost 3.5 hours on it. And these were 7th or 8th grade students, not younger students. But even I don't know if you remember what your longest was?
It was roughly 4 hours. It was around that 4-hour mark for the science. Science was longer.
About 60 questions, well, 48 questions, I think, for the elementary, and about 60 questions. All had reading passages or charts or diagrams that students had to either reference for answers, meeting the new intermediate science standards. So I think they'll have I'm sure they're getting a lot of feedback at the state level. So We are just about done wrapping those up, and then we have a couple of field tests. So the ELA will be doing field tests, another state exam on the testing platform, but those are just one period in the day, about 40 minutes, to just test questions for next year's test. So it's just another thing that we get to participate in. So, Eva and I would like to just thank everybody, extend our gratitude to all the teachers and support staff that helped us make sure that this runs smoothly. So just appreciate all the hands-on deck approach that we have, and we're able to do things very smoothly to try and have at least disruption to students, regular learning as possible. And then each year I try around this time to look at where we are with software and how students are using software. This information comes mostly from the dashboards on the apps, but also from GoGuardian, which is what we use to monitor students' access on their Chromebooks. And it allows us to see in a monthly window how many times students go to a particular website. And so looking year after year, we can see some trends or some changes. Great trends, and especially with reminding the elementary school, continuing to get more messages out to families, continuing to have that open line of communication, which is great. Schoology, you can see this is our high school learning management system. So that continues to be accessed more by parents, a few more parents, and students as well, and teachers. So more work, more access there. And then Google Classroom's about the same. And then on the back is the GoGuardian work or data. And just a couple things I'll point out. Number 5, Delta Math has moved up a bit. So that's 7th through 12th math. First in math made 3rd place this year, which is great. Kicked YouTube out of the top 3, which is always a good thing. More math, less YouTube. And then Scratch, I added another filter that helped to reduce the number of game sites that students could get to. And Scratch is a site where students can create their own games, but there is a whole library of games that have been created by other students. So when I kind of block other game sites, they gravitate towards the game sites that are available. So that one went up a bit. And then I appreciate the working with Pete in the elementary school for number 12, the typing club, shot up considerably in our monthly use. So every Friday, classrooms are working on their typing skills with all the computer-based testing. It's going to just be more and more useful for them to not have to take that cognitive load to figure out how to.
At the report, at the time that I wrote, we had 63 responses. Tonight we have 65 responses. Chris and I will compile results to share next month and also to share with the admin team. I think we were both really excited. I went on, I might have been was it the 3rd that I went on that same night? And I sent her a message, I'm like, we have responses. So it was, it's good feedback. And we're already thinking about how, annually we have to post this, what are other questions we could be asking in the future. So we will have that information next month for you. And then the next item, Reading League's curriculum navigation reports. And I know the question has come up, are we going, especially during the stakeholder meeting for strategic planning, will we continue the relationship with the Reading League? And we will. It won't be quite as intense as it was this year, but we're staying connected with any information that they present. And the last item, which was a big event nationwide, that they've launched these curriculum navigation reports. So they've taken a team of experts and they're vetting, they're reviewing, and they started with, I think it was 7 of the most widely used reading programs against their own, or the science of reading rubrics to identify where their strengths are, maybe where some gaps are, because that's really left up to school districts. In the past, we had to do our own reviews and vet our own programs, and you guys know that. And it'll take them a while. They're going to continue, I think, each year, or maybe it's every 6-month increment, they're trying to review another program. They have to have permission. They're asking publishers for permission to volunteer their materials to be reviewed. There are some programs that are opting out. They don't want their materials reviewed, and some for good reason, like they know they don't have a strong phonics component to their program, so why be told what they already know? But this will help us. Pete, Sarah, Mr. Ahern, Sarah Loomis and I are meeting this coming week. We're reading through the reports to make sure that we understand and how the reports are written, because I think we will probably use them with the teachers in the elementary next year to be able to review the current programs so that we can make a really informed decision. More to come on that. And then the bottom half, I talk about special education. And the first part is that we as a department, I want to make sure that we're really grounded in a common understanding of what the continuum of services, what it means, so that when we're making recommendations, we know the difference between integrated co-teaching and consultant teacher, whether it's direct or indirect. But this is important right now because as a department, we're looking at planning those instructional groups for next year. So how do we want to make sure we have consistency, not just in the elementary, but also in the high school and having that. So that's the work that we're doing now. I didn't put an update in here. We've also been conducting interviews. So that'll be ongoing. We'll have to repost for some that either, well, a couple we've made offers, and I've gotten some calls today saying that they took another offer elsewhere. So we'll be rolling along with that. And then the bottom item, therapeutic crisis intervention for schools. We have 3 trainers already on staff. Laura Preston at the elementary school, Craig Bennett here at the high school, junior, senior high, and John Wolf. They are trained in therapeutic crisis intervention for schools, and our goal is to have all of our staff trained in this approach, and it's going to take us probably at least 3 years and then have those updates and refreshers. But it's a solid model, and I've asked Laura Preston, who's the special ed teacher at 6th grade, I would like her and the 6th grade teachers to almost write a little bit of a story of, I would call it their case study this year, or we could create a case study that shows how an entire grade level that was trained last summer was able to really support the entire cohort and students that have some significant management behavioral needs. And I think it's a huge success story. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So you'll hear more about that as well. And then on the back, I don't, what did I update as far as our district goals? Well, using data to drive instructional decisions, I'd say our strategic plan is a very good example of using data. Literacy instruction, I talked about the curriculum navigation reports from the Reading League. MTSS, I did attend a regional overview from TST BOCES of the state ed's MTSS multi-tiered system of supports initiative. And I came back and told Brent, I thought I was going because I wanted to make sure that we had all the latest and greatest information. And what I saw was that much of what they presented, we presented at last fall's superintendent's conference day, I think. So but it was
Smart, I guess. What is the difference between a direct and an indirect consultant teacher service?
and I'm sorry, because you guys learned this the other night. I will make this much less painful than what gave the dissertation on oral reading fluency the other evening. Indirect consultant teacher is a special education teacher supporting the teachers and modifications and how to accommodate. A direct consultant teacher would be the special education teacher pushing into the classroom to directly support a student that's accessing the gen ed curriculum. And then there's time requirements. So it's a minimum of 2 hours per week. And it can be divided an hour indirect, hour direct. However, you need to see that. Did I do okay, Mrs. Vanscoy?
Right on, right on.
Very helpful.
And it does, it gets confusing, even for those of us in the department and we're doing that, it's like, okay, what's the difference between this and integrated co-teaching, so.
For the TCIS,
Mhm.
will there be future opportunities for additional teachers to achieve trainer status? I'm thinking like in the pre-K to first range, just because there's such a developmental difference at that end of the elementary range compared to fifth and sixth grade.
There could be. Chris was,
So I believe that some of our trainers have attended a program at Cornell University. And so that's how they would get to be trainers. I'm not sure how often that's offered.
Mhm.
But we do have at least three trainers on staff right now.
that's a great idea, though. We've always, I mean, it has been geared more toward the middle school, high school. But we've been having conversations internally about those transitional years, with the developmentally appropriate practices, early learning, middle level, how do we support? Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I know Wendy Watkins, she's been trained in the past and she can't do it this summer. The dates don't match. But she said, I need to go through that again. But the idea of being a trainer, it's interesting.
And I know in 22, 23, we used some of our title funding to send some people to the trainer at Cornell. And we also use title funding to support a group of, what did I tell you, 20 people, I think there's 17 of the three trainers for a summer session here. And we'll continue as much as possible to utilize that funding to do that for as long as we need to.
Thank you.
Okay. Said my report looks short tonight, but I don't know how many times you can say budget, right? So that's what we've been doing, budget. And we're finishing up our 23-24 school year, getting ready for auditors. We're finishing up so that we can start the 24-25 school year with the budget. And we're also talking about 25-26 budget already. So it's all happening. Along with that, like I said, we have our auditors coming for some pre-work in June. They'll be here for 2 days, the middle of June. Then they're back in July to do our formal audit for the 23-24 school year. We've been attending user group meetings and trainings with CINERIC, both, payroll, accounts payable, end of year. All of us have been in full swing with that. I'll be attending the ASBO conference in the beginning of June. I think it's the 2nd through the 5th, through the 4th. So I'm looking forward to that. We've just been kind of doing everything for year end, like I said, insurance renewals and budget stuff and getting everything kind of ready to roll into 24.
Bless you.
And then Mr. Sylvie.
And I'm also gonna start with budget, and I'll also be brief on budget at this point, because next Tuesday is the vote. I hope everybody here and everybody who's watching can come out to vote. Want to thank everyone who's able to attend the public hearing of our budget, this past Tuesday. And I want to thank the administrative team. They were fantastic. It was for sure the best show in town, and it was just telling the facts. It was great. and what I said at the end of that, I want to reiterate, I respect everybody's vote. I truly do. I want you to vote your conscience, but I want that vote to be a well-informed vote. So if there are still any questions, there's still time to call and ask, and we'll do that. What else? We live streamed it. I wanted to mention that a presentation is still on our website too. We use the same slides that we used last Tuesday night with voiceovers, so you can get maybe a less lively, but as informative presentation that's been pre-recorded. I want to thank everybody who serves on the board everywhere, especially in Candor, and thank those people who stepped up this year because we have 3 open seats. But we're fortunate to have Kate Davenport, Jessica Spaccio, and Craig Nevins running. So when you come to vote, make sure you vote for a candidate as well. I want to talk a little bit about the capital project because, hallelujah, we got approval this past Monday. When we first put our proposal into state ed in September, the projection said we would have it by the end of January or February. So we've been kind of waiting, but a lot of work still is happening in the planning stage, so we're not too far behind. I had the opportunity to mention it to our board president, but I'll say it again, within the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna request a special board meeting because there'll be approvals and authorizations that we'll need, so that we can get started without waiting 5 weeks. But things with the capital projects are starting to move and pick up a little steam now and going, not as originally planned, but as replanned. So we're in good shape there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the SVEC Eagles. We did last week have a steering committee meeting. Talked about a lot of things, and one of the things we did talk about are the football numbers and whether or not it's possible to have a JV team as well as a modified and varsity. And the committee reminded me that when they looked at it the first time, that the numbers if you just look at the signups, are close. There'd be enough. But both schools could identify more to get, not each school 10, but there are more than 10 students who, for the last several years, have signed up for a sport every season and have not shown once. And so if you took those out of the mix, and we talked about how to combat that, that parents are notified. They're having a conversation about decisions being made based on signups. And then we got off of that topic after putting together a plan, which does include a merge sport parent informational meeting this summer that we're planning. Hopefully we'll be able to do it at Cass Hill again. It's a nice venue, but not in the small room where you've all been before, but the larger spaces as well. To talk about that, the goals of merge sports and how we can strengthen those programs. But when we brought it back around to next fall's football team, the athletic directors and, the superintendents and principals were there. And also the coaches weren't there at that point, but the coaches were also talked to about it. If the numbers hold strong or even increase, it is still possible to get a JV team in. And that's not easy and it's not a guarantee, but it's really no harder than cutting a team, and we've had to do that because it throws off everybody's schedule. The schedules are being made now. But they did make a commitment if the numbers are there, we're gonna go back and try to form a JV team. We'd have to be able to hire coaches, which I believe we'd be able to, and we'd have to be able to get a schedule, which again, that's not my area of expertise. I was told, yeah, we'd like to get a schedule. The JV team might not get a good schedule. It may be some scrimmages and some adult league games more than not. But the sentiment that was expressed by the board was supported by the steering committee that the goal of merging teams is to give more opportunity, not just make bigger teams where kids ultimately have less opportunity. So point well taken. I don't know if there are any questions about that. I just said enough. Okay. It wasn't in the report I sent ahead of time, but I do want to take a moment and give a shout out to the Tioga County Health Department. They've been wonderful. So I'll mention their director, Heather Broman, who's been there a while, but is only recently the director. She met with a group of Tioga County superintendents to talk to us about, the dental health of children in Tioga County. And you've noticed the dental ban at the elementary school, and they're always looking to partner with schools for things like that. I'm drinking my water from one of the 10 new water fountains that have bottle fillers that, since they've been installed, and all 10 are now installed, have saved hundreds, literally hundreds of plastic bottles from going into the landfill. So, and that was provided for us through a grant we've worked on together with the Tioga County Health Department. And Kylie Holacek, who's a Candor alum, did the heavy lifting for that. And then more recently, she sent me, myself and Holly Carlin an email saying, I'm working on a grant with another school. I think you want to jump on it. And she got us 2 brand new exercise bicycles for our fitness center. It's been a good partnership, so I wanted to thank you for that. Any questions?
I think the, community meeting around the merged sports is a great idea. Just, there's a lot of misconceptions or, it's just a great opportunity to kind of clear the air and get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to provide food and prizes, get a lot of people in.
Yeah, and getting the word out.
Yeah.
For those, the people who express discontent, of course, might not be the people who show up, but.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Thank you. And we are to board comments. And board comments. No, okay, that's good. I just wanted to give kudos to the 6th grade team for the Greek plays that they put together, which seemed to, the kids loved them and had a great time, and they may have learned something in the process. So kudos to Mrs. Perillo, I think is the ringleader on that one.
Yep. She might, a couple others kicking and screaming, but no. The
If I
kids
did
love it.
Mr. Pierce for his retirement, but
Yeah. He would play Medusa or something, right?
I would like to thank the administrative team. You were absolutely marvelous for the budget presentation. I mean, I knew you were smart. Well, I thought you were, but now I know for sure. You guys presented so well. Truthfully and articulately. Love it. Thank you, sir, for choosing this team.
They chose me.
And thank you for putting together the pre-recorded version of the presentation. I really do think that's a great asset for the community, and I really hope that folks that couldn't attend in person will take the time to watch it, because a lot of hard work went into putting that together, and it is a great tool for folks to better understand just how important our school budgets are.
And no, we don't want to be on that committee.
I also want to thank Pete. When we had the strategic planning meeting, one of the things that we talked about in the group that I was in, talking with Chris and others, we had talked about the return of Citizen of the Month or something similar to that. So just seeing that, I'm sure it's something you were already working on, but it's great to see a responsiveness to things that are being discussed in these strategic planning models. So thank you for your work on that.
I can't take the credit. That was actually a teacher's suggestion as well, right before the meeting. Sheila Bowman suggested that.
Well, props to Sheila as well then. And then just the last thing, just kind of in keeping with Neil's tradition of thanking some retirees, I do want to extend my appreciation to Jerry Troger for his years of service to the Candor Central School District. Personal for me because he took very good care of my youngest niece and her transportation to BOCES for a number of years. It's hard to find folks of that caliber, so Jerry, thank you for your service.
Thanks, Greg. We are back to our visitors. You guys want to repeat your whole thing or do you think? Okay.
If anyone listening has any questions, I will check in.
You're such a trooper. All right, so we do need an executive session for some personnel matters, but for here, we can send our lovely administrators out to enjoy the, what you got? I'm sorry.
Ask other questions, though.
You can ask us.
Oh, yes, you
Yeah.
guys, yes, you guys. So I remember at the last meeting, I think it was mentioned about graduation, because the track being worked on, it was, I think it'd be held in the auditorium. I'd heard a little feedback that students would like to have it outdoors. Would the front lawn be an option like it used to be held out front?
May I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. So I'm so glad you asked, because I told Mr. Amen I would address it when it came up. I was planning on this question, and I almost forgot. So thank you. So yes, the construction will have started on the track. So the track or the field is not an option. Mr. Amen talked about it. He has talked with the student council about it too more recently, because they were hoping for it to be outside. The original decision was, well, we have construction going on the track. That's not an option. I know when Mrs. Nichols graduated, it used to be on the front lawn. Am I correct? Just a few years
Ours
back.
was, it was only 5 years.
Mine was,
Oh, yeah.
mine was out there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
It
it used to be out front.
The configuration of our front has
It's
changed
changed, yeah.
considerably. We've also moved it to the evening. The nice part about having it in the stadium is they would turn the lights up when it started to get dark, and that wouldn't happen. So I'm not giving the answer one way or the other because it's Wayne's call. What I am doing is saying a lot of consideration went into it, and he is talking with students now. Right now, the decision is for it to be in the auditorium. There've been several years because of rain, it's not quite 50-50 that it's in the auditorium. One of the concerns that I know some students were bringing up were, well, I have a large extended family. Wayne wanted to make sure everyone knows we have never run out of seats. And this is a much smaller class than we've had. We're under 50 this year. So it's unlikely that anybody would be turned away. And as we did last year, we didn't need it, but we did live stream the whole ceremony into the cafeteria where we'll have comfortable seats. So if, a third uncle wanted to watch from there, it's a comfortable space and he's still with the family. So again, I'm speaking for Wayne, but the plan right now is to have it in the auditorium. But he is still open to talking to students, or if anybody else wants to talk to him, he's happy to do that. Okay.
Did you have others?
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, it's okay. I hope I didn't. No.
Maybe one more.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, so I came home this week with my kiddos about the healthy program again for after school for next year. And I was just wondering if there were, we're looking at different options for next year. I know it was financially tough for some parents.
Short answer is yeah.
Yes, do you want me to, I answered your question on the phone.
I know
don't know if you want me to verify or
Yeah.
make it public or not. I mean, I don't, so Brett and I have had conversations with some individuals here in-house to see if we can run it in-house with our faculty, but through them being their own vendor, so the school wouldn't.
So yeah, the short answer though to the question, if you don't mind jumping in, that it's yes. Like all of our programs are, I want to be clear that it's not that we're unhappy with Healthy Kids. They've run a good program for us. We're always looking to improve everything. And this is one of the areas where we do see, maybe we can So we've had those conversations, just as we talked about for the summer. For next year, that's a quick turnaround, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna give it a good shot if we have the ability to do something better. So the short answer is yes, but the details aren't hammered out yet.
And the price structure. could be
That's one of the
different,
things
potential.
we would be hoping to see if we could make better.
Sure.
You know, I mean, there are a few things, but yeah, there's things we hope to make it better. We won't bring in a more expensive, less, program, of course. That's-
Fair. All right. So we
You'll
will
get your chance.
7:35, we will declare public session adjourned, and now the administration can go enjoy the lovely evening. Oh.